At 82, I've gathered plenty of life experience, but there's one choice I truly regret: moving into a nursing home. At the time, it felt like the right decision. My family supported it, assuring me I'd receive the care and comfort I needed. I trusted them. But once I arrived, the reality was far from what I expected. If you're thinking about a nursing home for yourself or a loved one, it might seem like a safe, practical solution. Maybe you've been told it will make life easier. But before you take that step, I want to share 6 things I wish I had known beforehand. Because the truth is, moving into a nursing home isn't just about convenience. It transforms your entire life. And once you're in, getting out isn't as simple as it sounds. Stick with me until the end. These lessons might surprise you, and if you know someone considering this path, this message might be exactly what they need to hear before making a life-altering decision. Regret number 1: losing my independence. The biggest shock wasn't the small room, the scheduled meals, or the unfamiliar faces. It was the loss of control over my own life. Before the move, I had my own routine. I chose when to wake up, when to eat, how to spend my day. I could go for a walk, cook a meal, or relax in my favorite chair with a good book, all on my own terms. Inside the nursing home, I quickly realized that my time no longer belonged to me. Meals were served at set times, regardless of whether I was hungry. Lights went out at a specific hour, whether I was ready for bed or not. Even stepping outside often required asking permission and waiting for someone to help. Decisions I once made without a second thought, what to eat, what to wear, began to feel like privileges rather than basic choices. I remember my first week there. I woke up in a bed that didn't feel like mine, reached for the book I had been reading at home, and looked around at the unfamiliar room. The comforts I'd built over a lifetime, my chair, my books, my space, were gone. In their place were sterile walls, a standard bed, and an overwhelming feeling of disconnection. I no longer felt in control of my own life. The hardest part? Realizing that once you give up your independence, getting it back is nearly impossible. You learn to adapt, because you have to. You stop questioning the dinner menu. You wait for permission to go outside. You begin to mold yourself to their system. And slowly, piece by piece, you start losing yourself. So if you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you truly ready to give up the small freedoms that make life yours? Because once they're gone, you'll miss them more than you ever imagined. Regret number 2: feeling forgotten. One of the most painful realizations after moving into a nursing home is that life outside continues, with or without you. When I first arrived, my family promised they'd visit often, and in the beginning they did. My daughter dropped by weekly, and my grandchildren would come on weekends. For a while, it felt like I was still part of the world I'd left behind. But over time, those visits slowed down. Phone calls began to replace face-to-face time. My grandchildren got caught up with school and work. Holidays, once filled with laughter and family, became lonely. Everyone meant well, but plans would fall through, and I'd find myself sitting in the common area, watching other residents silently stare at the door. Each of us hoping today would be the day someone remembered us. It's not that my family stopped loving me. Life simply got busy. When you're not seen every day, it's easy for people to believe you're doing okay, that you're settled in and don't need much anymore. But the truth is, the longer you're out of sight, the more you risk being out of mind. I remember one evening, sitting in my room holding my phone, debating whether or not to call my son. I didn't want to seem needy. I didn't want to remind him that I was here, still waiting for a visit that might never come. So I put the phone down, and that's when it hit me. This is my life now, hoping someone remembers, hoping someone has time. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you ready to face that kind of loneliness? Because no matter how strong the love of your family is, distance makes it easy to forget just how much your presence still matters. If this message resonates with you, please comment number 2 below to let me know you're here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a good time, so you don't miss what's coming next. Regret number 3: losing my sense of purpose. When I decided to move into a nursing home, I thought I was just changing addresses. I had no idea I'd also be leaving behind my purpose. Back home, I had structure. I had hobbies, small tasks, and daily routines. Things that made me feel useful. Whether it was making coffee, watering my plants, or tidying my space, those moments gave me a reason to get up in the morning. But once I moved in, all of that disappeared. Meals were prepared for me. My room was cleaned by staff. The plants? They weren't mine to care for anymore. At first, I told myself it would be nice to finally rest. No chores, no responsibilities, just peace. But after a few weeks, that rest started to feel like a void. The days grew longer. I had nothing to do but wait, and I saw it in others too. People who once had vibrant lives now sitting quietly, staring off into space, just passing time. There was one man, George, 84, who had been a carpenter all his life. Back home, he was always fixing something, building little projects in his garage. But here, there were no tools, no workbench, nothing to create. I watched him slowly fade, hands that had built so much now resting idle in his lap. "I feel useless," he told me one day, and I knew exactly what he meant. When you no longer have something to care for or work toward, life starts to feel empty. Your mind slows, your body follows, and eventually you begin to feel like just another resident in a place where time passes, but little ever changes. So before you commit to this move, ask yourself, what gives your life meaning? Because in a nursing home, filling time isn't the same as living. Holding on to your sense of purpose takes effort, and sometimes a quiet fight to stay connected to what makes you feel truly alive. Regret number 4, declining health faster than I expected. Before I moved into a nursing home, I was doing pretty well for my age. I wasn't running races, but I could take care of myself, cook, clean, take walks, and manage my daily routines. I had habits that kept me active: grocery shopping, light stretching in the mornings, just walking around the house to stay mobile. But everything changed once I moved in. At first, it felt like a break. Meals brought to me, no need to stand and cook, and help just a button press away. But what I didn't realize was that the more I relied on others, the less I used my own body. I stopped moving as much, and before long, my legs stiffened. Sitting became my default, and even standing up started to feel like a challenge. The strength I had spent years maintaining seemed to vanish almost overnight, and I wasn't alone. I watched it happen to others too. People who walked in independently ended up needing walkers or wheelchairs within months. The more assistance we received, the more we seemed to need. I remember a woman named Alice, 81, who was full of energy when she arrived. She walked the grounds daily and proudly declared she wouldn't let age slow her down. But slowly she started walking less. Then came the walker and eventually the wheelchair. One day she looked at me and said, "I don't know when it happened, but I feel like I aged 10 years in just a few months." And that's exactly what it felt like. When you stop using your body, you start losing it. In a place designed to make everything easier, it's dangerously easy to forget how vital it is to keep moving. If I'd known how quickly I'd decline, I would have pushed myself harder, walked more, stretched more, kept my body in motion even when it was easier not to. So if you're thinking about a nursing home, ask yourself, will you have the drive to stay active when everything is set up to make you comfortable, but sedentary? Because once you slow down, regaining strength is far harder than you think. If this message speaks to you, comment number 4 below to let me know you're still with me. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss what's coming next. Regret number 5, the loss of privacy and dignity. One thing I didn't fully grasp before moving into a nursing home was how much of my privacy and dignity I'd have to give up. Back home, I had my space. I could close my door, sit in silence, and go about my day on my own terms. But in a nursing home, privacy isn't something you can always count on. From the moment I arrived, I felt like I was constantly being observed. Staff coming in and out, routine room checks, and shared spaces where solitude is rare. Even basic personal tasks, getting dressed, using the bathroom, taking a shower, often required help. I knew the staff meant well and were only doing their jobs, but it's not easy accepting assistance for things you've managed on your own your whole life. I remember in that first week feeling shocked that I had to ask to shower or wait for someone to help me use the restroom. Sometimes even pressing the call button meant waiting longer than you'd expect. Choices felt limited. Didn't like the day's meal? Too bad. And sharing a room? That's common. I was lucky. My roommate was kind, but others weren't as fortunate. I heard stories of residents stuck with people who were loud, messy, or had severe cognitive issues that made rest nearly impossible. No matter how many personal touches you add to your room, it never truly feels like your space. It's hard to explain how deeply that affects you. When people knock but don't wait for your reply, when you're talked to like a patient rather than a person, when your daily life is dictated by someone else's schedule, slowly you start to feel less like yourself and more like just another person being managed. So if you're considering this step, ask yourself, are you ready to give up the control and privacy you've had your whole life? Because once it's gone, getting it back isn't easy. Regret number 6, realizing it's not so easy to leave. When I first moved into the nursing home, I told myself it was only temporary. I figured I'd give it a shot, see how it felt. If it didn't work out, I could always go back home. But what I didn't anticipate was how difficult it would actually be to leave once I was in. At first, it all seemed so simple. If I didn't like it, I'd just pack up and head back. But home wasn't the same anymore. My house had been sitting empty, and managing it from afar had become a challenge. My kids had started making decisions, selling things they thought I no longer needed, even talking about renting the place out. When I finally said I wanted to return, the hesitation was clear. Are you sure you can handle it? Wouldn't it be safer to stay? We just want what's best for you. On top of that, my body had changed. After months of not needing to cook, clean, or move around much, I wasn't as strong or steady as I had been. The independence I'd taken for granted had faded, and I started doubting my ability to live alone again. That fear kept me rooted, not because I wanted to stay, but because I wasn't sure I could leave. I wasn't the only one. I met others who had come in with the same idea. I'll just try it out for a while. But they stayed longer than they planned, and before they knew it, going back wasn't an option. Their homes were sold, their savings went toward care, and the life they used to live became a memory. That's what no one really tells you. Moving in feels like a choice you can undo, but for many people, it quietly becomes permanent. The longer you're there, the more distant the outside world feels, and the harder it is, financially, physically, and emotionally, to make your way back out. So if you're thinking about a nursing home, really think about this. Are you prepared for the possibility that once you go in, it might be much harder to leave than you expect? Because the road back is often more complicated than anyone warns you. If this message is resonating, comment number 6 below to let me know you're still here. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next video. Final thoughts. Looking back, I don't regret growing older. That's a privilege. But I do regret believing that moving into a nursing home was my only option. I went in hoping for comfort, safety, and an easier life. What I didn't expect was how much it would slowly take away my independence, my privacy, my sense of purpose, and eventually my identity. Now, that's not to say all nursing homes are bad. For some, they're truly necessary. But if you still have a choice, if there's still a way to stay in your home with support, consider fighting for that a little harder. If I could go back, I would have looked into more alternatives, found ways to get help without giving up my freedom, and made sure I absolutely needed to be there before making such a life-altering move. So if you're standing at this crossroads, ask yourself, is this really what's best for me, or just what feels most convenient right now? Because the everyday life you live, your routines, your freedom, your ability to make choices, is more precious than you might realize until it's gone. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'd love to hear from you. Share one thing you took away from this video and how you plan to apply it. Your thoughts mean the world to us, and reading your comments encourages us to keep going. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us continue creating content that informs and uplifts. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.